Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Coach Lauren, and today we're going to be talking about meal timing. Meal timing is very important because you want to be consistent in when you're eating your meals, how you're eating your meals, and how much you're eating during your meals. So, I'm going to give you some tips today on meal timing, and you can figure out in the next 3 or 4 days what's best for you, the time, the frequency that you eat, and how much you eat. So, first tip is eat like a queen at breakfast. Now, I was always told that breakfast should be the largest meal of the day, which is not true. You should eat a very good breakfast and a balanced breakfast, but you don't have to eat the most at breakfast. You want to eat within an hour of waking. This is so that you can get your metabolism rocking and rolling and get that fire burning inside so that when you're putting fuel in, it's burning it off and using it to create energy. Um, Before you eat a meal, make sure that you check in with your hunger. So, we have something called the hunger scale. From 1 to 10, you measure how hungry you are. So, at a 1, you're just kind of noticing that you're hungry. At a 2, you start planning for your next meal. Now, why do we plan at number 2? Well, if you're like me, I'm very indecisive about where I want to eat if you're going somewhere. And then you also have to ask everyone else where they want to go. So it takes time to figure out where you want to go. And then you have to get there. Then you sit down and wait, wait for the food to be cooked. So my point is at a 2, you're figuring out your next meal, what it's going to be and where it's going to be and when it's going to be. Because you don't want to wait until you're at a 10 and starving. Because why? You're going to grab that bag of chips that's right there available, or cookies, or whatever you can grab instantly and quickly. And usually that's processed foods. It's not as healthy foods as it would be if you prepared the meal or if you ate somewhere and planned ahead of time. I know a lot of people meal plan, especially for breakfast. Breakfast is tough because if you're like me and you have kids and you're trying to get yourself ready for the day, it's the morning goes fast. It's quick, and you don't have time to play around or you don't have time to cook this big breakfast or anything. So, I would suggest maybe cooking your eggs ahead of time, making some oatmeal ahead of time. Um, you know, just kind of having in your mind what you want for breakfast and what's best for you and your family and what works for you. Um, so at each meal, check in with your hunger scale. Okay. So are you at a 2? Are you at a 5? Are you at a 7? After you eat breakfast in the morning, notice how long it takes for you to get hungry again. Does it take 2 hours, 3 hours, 5 hours? Are you just not hungry? That could be a metabolism issue as well. Um, so you definitely don't want to skip meals. I'll throw this out there because I've done that before where I just wasn't hungry. So if I'm not hungry, I don't eat, right? Well, not true. You kind of have to make yourself eat sometimes so that you can keep your metabolism going, and so that you don't mess up your natural rhythm in your body as far as eating. We're putting food in our body for fuel and for energy. And if we don't put anything in, we can't get anything out of it. Um, so notice when you get naturally hungry. Then measure once you do get hungry where you fall on that hunger scale. Um, and this is just kind of to help you in figuring out, again, meal timing, how many meals throughout the day that you need for your body type, because we're all different. A more active person is going to eat every 3 to 4 hours, whereas a less active person is going to eat about between 4 and 5 hours. So a more active person is going to get between 4 and 6 meals a day, and whereas a less active person maybe 3 to 4 meals. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your meal timing. And during your meals, make sure that you focus on the magic plate. I will put it as a shared file under the video, But the magic plate is simply to help you balance your meal. You don't want to have all carbs or all protein, or you want to balance it out. You want to have a third of a dense, starchy, nutrient vegetable. So that could be sweet potatoes. Um, it could be broccoli. It could be spinach. Fingerlings are good. And then you want to have a third of your plate for protein. Now, protein, uh, you want to get between 4 and 6 ounces of protein in your meals. And you're probably like, okay, how I don't carry a scale around with me. What's the best way to try to measure this out? Well, you can use the palm of your hand. So the palm of your hand is gonna be roughly 4 to 5 ounces. And I say roughly because fish weighs less than ground beef or steak. Also, it depends on the cut of the meat. If the meat is very thin, it's not going to weigh as much as if it's very thick. So just keep that in mind as well. Uh, and then you want a third of your plate to be green vegetables. Always want to incorporate the green because it's very nutrient dense, very good for our bodies. Um, and then you want about 1 to 3 tablespoons of a good fat source. For me, avocados are my go-to. I love avocados. They're so good. They're cool. They're refreshing. Also like almonds. Almonds are very, very good. Olive oil, if you drizzle some olive oil, maybe on your rice or vegetables or something like that. That's also a very good one. So I know you're thinking oil. I can put oil on my food. Yes, in moderation. You want to drown your stuff in oil, but olive oil is good for you. Certain oils and fats are good for you. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But back to the meal timing tips. So um, focus on balance. Um, you want to make sure, your plate has all of the good stuff on it. I would say as you go throughout your day in the afternoon, pare back a little bit on your carbs if you need to. Um, have the majority of those in the first half of the day, because the first part of your day and the middle part of your day, that's when your metabolism is at its highest, especially that middle part of the day. Um, so when you eat lunch, you want to eat like a king. That's going to be your biggest meal, have the most carbs in it. That way, it's going to keep that metabolism, that engine going, and it's going to help you burn off any excess. And then in the afternoon, just pare back on those carbs. Don't cut them out completely because we need carbs for energy, but just pare back on them and don't eat as much. So, queen at breakfast, king at lunch. We're going to eat like a pauper at night. And what is a pauper? Well, basically, a pauper is a broke person. You're eating like you're in college and you've got to be on your own, and it's just a struggle. I know in college, I definitely ate like a pauper. But it's basically saying that's your smallest meal of the day is dinner. And you want to eat at least 2 hours before bedtime. The reason why is because your body is trying to shut down at night or slow down. So when you eat 2 hours before bedtime, that gives your body enough time to digest and process what you ate. That way, when you lay down to go to sleep, you're getting full rest and your body is not working to process that food while you're sleeping. Um, Try to cut it off at 7 or 7:30. If it's 8 or 8:30, it's not a tragedy. It will be okay. Just be mindful of when you're eating and how much you're eating, and always, always, always include protein in every meal that you eat, some sort of protein. I'm not saying it has to be meat. There's plenty of protein in beans and lentils and other things. You do not have to necessarily eat meat to get your protein. Just want to make sure I threw that one out there. So, the queen at breakfast, king at lunch, a pauper at dinner time. And don't forget that you want to take 20 minutes during your meal. Remember, 20 minutes is how long it takes your brain to talk to your stomach and tell you you're full. So this is the fullness scale. We talked about the hunger scale. We also have a fullness scale from 1 to 10. 10 being overly stuffed, I'm miserable, and 1 not so much. So you want to get to about a 7 on that scale. That's where you're satisfied, but you're not overly stuffed and full. And that way you don't run into the blood sugar roller coaster where you're up here and you're on a high and you're energetic and then you crash at the bottom. So, next tip that I'm going to talk to you about is caffeine. And caffeine is a big thing right now, as far as like my family and friends, we're all talking about caffeine and the effects of it. Um, my sister and I just had a conversation the other day about how caffeine really doesn't affect our energy. We love the taste of it. We love the warming sense in the morning. Um, but as far as giving me energy, it does not give me energy. And a lot of people think, oh, I need caffeine. It's going to wake me up. And it might give you that quick little burst of energy for just a minimal amount of time, but you're going to come crashing down from it. And it's just giving you a false sense of energy. Um, if you have mood swings or energy dips, you might want to look at your caffeine intake. Because if you're overly drinking caffeine and you have a dependency on it, that's really messing up with your natural rhythms of energy. So just be mindful about how much caffeine you're drinking and when you're drinking it. Try to cut it off at 2 p.m. during the day. That way, it's giving your body a chance to mellow out, regulate itself, and calm down so that you can get good rest at night. Me personally, I don't drink a lot of caffeine. I have this. I usually drink this in the morning, and sometimes I don't even finish this. This is my coffee. I may drink all of it. I may drink half of it. I might drink 2 sips of it. Um, Mornings are a bit hectic sometimes. But just notice how much caffeine you're drinking. Do you drink coffee, tea, sodas, anything like that? Any green teas or special teas like that? And if you just like the warming sense of it, get decaf. It's okay to drink decaf. We have to reset our minds from this caffeine, because caffeine is a drug. You can get addicted to it. And just like any other drug, it's hard to get off of it sometimes. And you kind of have to wean yourself off of it. I would not say cut it completely out, but just try to cut back a little bit. Day one, pare it down a half a cup. Day two, another half, or go several days with paring down just that half a cup to let your body get used to it. And then the next time, do a whole cup, or cut back on sodas. If you drink 5 sodas a day, well, then just cut back 1 and do that for a week. And then the next week, cut back another 1 and do that for a week. And you'll slowly retrain your brain and your body to not have such a dependency on that caffeine. And you'll realize that you're going to get much better rest, you're going to digest better, and you're going to feel a lot better and have more energy. So, once you know that, you can choose when and if you want to drink caffeine at all. Sometimes it's just the habit of doing something. It's just like smoking cigarettes. I used to smoke a long time ago, and I know it's a filthy habit. And honestly, I don't know if I was completely really addicted. I think it was just the habit of bringing it up to my mouth and having something to do. It wasn't necessarily the nicotine. So you have to kind of retrain your brain and retrain your habits. And when you feel like, I need that, do something else that energizes you. Dance, sing, listen to music, go outside, do jumping jacks. I don't know. don't go for the coffee or the cigarette or whatever habit you're trying to break. So I kind of went off on a tangent there. But as far as meal timing goes, if you'll start noticing tomorrow when you wake up, notice what time you eat in the morning. And remember, you want to try to eat at least an hour, within an hour after you wake up to get that metabolism going. Even if it's a banana or a granola bar or something, put something in you aside from just caffeine. um, so eat like a queen at breakfast. Try to eat a little more, which is hard for me because on the go, I'm just eating whatever I can. So I have to work on that myself. Eat like a king at lunch. This is when your metabolism's at the highest. Eat like a pauper or like you're broke at dinner. And if you need any more tips or suggestions on meal timing, hunger, fullness, meal planning, the magic plate, I will definitely put that at the bottom where you can access it to look at it. But shoot me a message, leave me a comment, and I hope this helped you with your meal timing. And hopefully, it will help you in getting a better rhythm on eating consistently, not skipping meals, and not overeating. I hope you enjoyed my video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye, y'all.